Welcome to the program agenda. Good morning to all of you. I'm your host, Cito Beltran. Please take your seats, make yourselves comfortable, and relax and enjoy the program. And we hope you will learn a lot today because we have two guests who will be joining us. One, to talk to us about the concerns, issues, suspicions, etc. about people running for public office, not to become elected into office, but to collect, to make money from campaign contributions, as well as the issue on people or candidates keeping leftover. Kumbaga, nag-take home sila ng mga campaign donations because recently during this stream of presidential interviews na inamin ni Mayor Isko Moreno that he himself was able to keep something like 50 million pesos worth of campaign contributions, although as per BIR memorandum, nagbayad naman daw siya ng buwis. So we will tackle that concern or that issue on whether or not political candidates should keep excess o mga leftovers o tira ng mga campaign contributions, or whether they should return it or donate it to charitable institution. Then after that, we will be speaking with someone to talk to us about a certain Maldita. Nag-isip ka bigla, sino Maldita yan, Beltran? Hindi naman po. Meron pong Maldita clothing line, tapos meron siyang mga restaurants, and siya pa yung presidente yata ng Restaurant Association. So tingnan natin, between Maldita and restaurants, what is taking up most of his time? We will be speaking with our two gentlemen later today. But first, let's start the program with today's Daily Starter. And our daily starter is, okay, there we go. I can tell the call of God on your life by what Satan attempted against you. Masasabi ko kung gaano kalaki, ano ang balakin ng Panginoon sa buhay mo, basin lang kung paano ka ginulpe o kaya hinarang, winalangya ng demonyo. Okay? I remember many years ago, I suppose about 20, 25 years ago, I was talking to one of my favorite pastor friends, Ferdy Kabiling, and sabi ko sa kanya, bro, sa totoo lang, dapat kumbaga sa pusa, 5 beses na akong napatay o namatay. And the Pastor Ferdy said to me, well, that clearly indicates, bro, that you are destined to do great work for the Lord. So kung kayo po ay medyo nagugulpe ng kapalaran, sometimes it is not necessarily luck. Hindi po pinag-uusapan ko minsan kung swerte yan because as you would read the book of Job dun sa Bible, kuminsan demonyo na, yung nandidemonyo, nanggugulo ng buhay nyo. And it is essentially, as I quoted today, it is to stop you from doing great things. So ika nga, parang Marines, di ba? Gapang lang, putok lang, laban lang. We will get this hill come hell or high water. Okay, and that's our daily starter. I can tell the call of God on your life by what Satan attempted against you. Ayan po. Now, let's go to the front page of the Philippine Star. Today, January 26, 2022, Wednesday. Medyo mabagal itong araw na ito. The headline, Stealth Omicron present in most regions. Biglang sasabihin ng mga iba dyan, ano na namang Stealth Omicron? Okay, meron daw pong variant. May variant na kagad. Itong Stealth Omicron na nakita sa mga ibang bansa. And based on the Philippine Genome Center findings, it is present in most regions, okay? And ito po yung medyo kakaiba dito. Kung meron tayong Omicron version 1, meron tayong Omicron version, yung BA1 versus BA2, lumalabas po na yung version 1 usually found among incoming passengers Filipinos coming from abroad. Yun naman daw pong version B2 o BA2 has been detected among local cases. Diba? Parang wala kayo nito sa atate. Meron kami niyan dito. Okay, so yan po. No? I'm just trying to amuse you because baka mag-panic kayo. Sabihin, naku, meron na naman bago. Hindi po. Version lang pero wala naman daw pagkakaiba. Okay. At the top of the front page, COMELEC releases final ballot phase for 2022. Para makita nyo na kung ano yung itsura ng ballot. Ayan, nilabas na po ng COMELEC kung ano yung itsura, what the ballot will look like in the coming election day. Now, on the other side of the top of the Philippine Star, Duterte threatens to reveal faults of presidentiables. Okay, medyo, eto na naman tayo. Okay, merong sinabi dati si Presidente na meron daw presidentiable na mahilig sa Coke. Hindi po yung soft drink, yung droga, cocaine. Ngayon, yung most corrupt daw of the presidentiables. Parang mauubos yata itong mga presidente sa komentaryo ni Presidente Duterte. In any case, we will leave that to the President. Now, election fact-checking initiative launch. Okay, ano po ba itong election fact-checking initiative? Several groups of 22 media organizations, academic institutions, and civil society groups have relaunched an expanded fact-checking coalition to combat disinformation in the 2022 elections. Unang lumabas siya noong 2019 and now they are relaunching it for the 2022 election para campaign para mabuking, mabulgar yung mga nagsisinungaling at nanggugulo dito sa kampanya. That picture in the center, naku po, bagamat umuulan na ang tikoy sa mga grocery, mukhang cancel ang Chinese New Year public activities sa City of Manila dahil daw po ay kasi sa Omicron. Okay. And so that's the bad news for the City of Manila. In the meantime, the NBI is investigating, probing, phishing, targeting teachers kasi may mga teachers daw po, teachers from public schools who lost somewhere between 26,000 to 100,000 plus from their land bank accounts. Sabi naman ng land bank, our system is okay, we are secure, so medyo mukhang magkaka-investigasyon dito dahil public school teachers po yan. Wala naman pong ganyanan. Okay. COVID-19 tally of Philippine active cases. Active cases, 247,451. Confirmed new cases, 17,677. Bumaba ang bilang. Malaki ang binaba. Pero ang mga namatay, the number of deaths, still high. 79 sadly passed away yesterday. Meantime, the DOH has stated that 30 to 40% of antigen positives have gone unreported kasi karamihan po dito ay mga taong bumili na lang yata o nagpunta sa private laboratory, nagpa-test, pero bahala ka na kung saan ka pupunta. So 30 to 40% of antigen positives unreported. Meanwhile, yan pong pilang yan na nakikita ninyo sa bottom half of the Philippine Star, people wait to get COVID vaccine shots at a hospital in Parañaque City yesterday. Meanwhile, in the presidential one-on-one interviews, Bongbong Marcos, his message is all about unity. Hindi na po ako magko-comment kasi mas maraming importanteng pag-uusapan. Okay, last but not the least, the experts and private sector representatives have recommended a return to pre-Omicron protocols as the country prepares to move from the pandemic. Yan po yung grupo ni Presidential Advisor for Entrepreneurship, Joey Concepcion, and along with the Octa Research Fellows and businessmen who are calling for return to pre-Omicron status kasi naman daw yung Omicron kung tutuusin, mas magaan pa karaniwan kaysa dun sa trangkaso. So, those are the articles, news on the front page of the Philippine Star. And thank you to our viewers. Bago po tayo mag-umpisa, I have to greet this person kasi siyempre kasama siya ng Team Agenda who works so hard at research, etc. etc. Happy birthday to CK. Yung CK po sa grupo namin is Hinson Ilmeng Manzano who's celebrating his birthday today. Bagamat, ewan ko, nasan ba siya? Sa Zamboanga ba? Or some province? Hindi pa yata makauwi. Happy birthday, CK. I hope that you have a blessed, happy birthday today. Good morning to Mr. Don Devesa, isa pong laging nanonood ng agenda from the LTO Mandaluyong. Good morning, Mr. Marco Hison, my friend in Iloilo, my classmate sa Sabong, along with Mr. Marlon Escolin. And of course, our regular viewer, Mr. Alan Blackmon, and Mr. Densko of Dagupan, yung milyonaryo, dyan po sa Kalasyaw. Papatayin ako niyan. Anyway, let's go to our first interview. Let's bring in the convenor of Kontra Daya. Okay, he is also an associate professor of the Department of Journalism at the University of the Philippines, Diliman. He writes a column for Pinoy Weekly and serves as associate editor of Bulatlat Multimedia. And let's bring in convenor Danilo Arao. Dan, good morning sa iyo.
Yeah, good morning to you, Cito, and of course to all of our televiewers. Magandang umaga po.
Bumabata ka. Hindi ka tulad ko. Pag nagkikita tayo, ako tumatanda. Ikaw, bumabata. Anyway, Dan, thank you for joining us this morning. And I don't know if the team agenda told you, but the topic is something close to my heart. Hindi naman close to my heart as in I love it. Actually, I revile it. This issue of campaign contributions, kumbaga yung mga tira nabubulsa.
Yes.
Ano ba talaga? What really should the practice be? Or what is the view of your group and other such election watchdogs regarding campaign contributions and candidates?
There is a problem, Cito, when you declare as income savings allegedly culled from campaign contributions, because normally what would happen is that you would be spending the funds at your discretion. It may be prudent for laws to be revised in such a way that either there will be a mechanism to return the money or to compel candidates to have contributed to a charity institution. So that would be money better spent. But you know, the fundamental issue here, Cito, is that we are all aware of campaign spending limits. So that's around 10 pesos per candidate. So it would be prudent for all candidates and political parties to just simply refuse contributions if ever they feel that they are already going above the spending limits.
Oh, okay. So the law, the COMELEC says 10 pesos per head ang pwede mong gastusin.
Correct.
Ngayon, kung may pumapasok na contribution, sige, tanggapin natin. Pero if you see na, teka, malapit na natin abutan yung spending limit, sara na ang pintuan. In other words, no more contribution.
Yeah, that's more prudent. Actually, just to provide some statistics here, during the 2016 presidential elections, it was Grace Poe who spent the most at around 510 million. The cheapest, if you call that cheapest, campaign machinery came from the late Miriam Defensor Santiago, who spent 74.6 or around 75 million pesos. So those are benchmarks that would be used. Although, Cito, I also have to tell you that if we try to have conversations with campaign strategists, they would tend to argue that the actual expenditures would not be reflected in the statement of contributions and expenses submitted to the COMELEC. I think the ballpark is around 1 billion for a national campaign for a candidate to conduct a decent campaign activity, a series of campaign activities for the duration of the campaign season. So sometimes we also have to be level-headed enough to appreciate the fact that there is a tendency for many candidates and political parties to declare something lower in their SOSE aside from what is actual.
So lumalabas, as far as the law or the COMELEC is concerned, the allowable expenditure per election is much, much lower than the actual expense of candidates, maski na yung legitimate candidates. Kumbaga yung hindi mga walang yan, mga kriminal.
Yes, that's correct. There are two factors here, Cito. It's not just during the campaign season because technically, the campaign season, for example, right now, the start of the presidential and national level campaign should be on February 8th. But technically, the campaigns have been happening even since last year.
Mhm.
So that's also another factor that we need to keep in mind. For example, the ad spots that are spent by candidates right now on television as well as in other media, technically they're not counted in the contributions and expenditures because the campaign season hasn't started yet. So they don't need to declare such expenditures right now. So that's the problematic aspect when it comes to the actual implementation of the monitoring of campaign expenditures because the time limit is actually technically shorter. So herein lies the problem with regard to expenses. The de facto campaign season is much, much longer than what is actually prescribed by law.
Okay, so as it turns out, am I correct in my observation, Professor Arao, that okay, as far as the COMELEC is concerned, ang binabantayan nila, what they're guarding is that you don't spend in excess of the stipulated budget per head per election per voter. As
Correct.
far as the BIR is concerned, what they are concerned with is that you pay taxes in whatever money you receive, whether it's leftover campaign contribution. If you keep it, they want it declared as income, and therefore you must pay taxes. Pero is there no law or is there no one talking about, okay, hey guys, you cannot keep the campaign funds that you don't spend, or you have to turn it over to charity or whatever?
Right now, we don't have that, unfortunately. So perhaps Congress can explore that option. Of course, there is doubt whether or not our legislators would be willing to do that because, as we all know, election season is a money-making activity for various sectors, including candidates, because they can earn based on whatever savings that can be generated for the campaigns that they are conducting. And sometimes, based on anecdotal evidence, there are cases of candidates who are not really so serious about pursuing their candidacies, and then they're just soliciting donations.
Well, exactly, Professor Arao, because yan yung aking concern. Yan yung
Yes.
noon ko pa ikinapuputok ng butsi ko, as they say, no? I'm not concerned about the money kasi kumbaga binigay yan eh. So pasensyaan na lang kung nabulsa. But that it has become a livelihood model. may ang daming tumatakbo lang para makakolekta. I remember in the past when my father was still alive, he was talking about a would have been, could have been, should have been president who lost in the final stretch of the election, of the campaign, because he decided to put away retirement money. Parang
Yes.
kumbaga nagtabi ng insurance. Sabi niya, manalo
Exactly.
matalo, panalo pa rin ako. Sabi raw sa kanya nung kandidato, naku po, natalo. Natalo nga pero natalong milyonaryo. And I
Yeah.
know of certain politicians, ang joke nga sa kanila, pare, pagkatapos ng kampanya, tingnan mo, may bago na namang mansion yan. And
Exactly.
true enough, what are the things you know about this? I don't know. I don't know if you can call them criminals. Kumbaga, nagla-livelihood eh.
Yeah, exactly. But technically, we cannot call them criminals because these things are allowed by law. When Isko Moreno said that he paid the taxes and that it was okay for him to collect the 50 million or so savings based on his campaign expenses, these are all legal. But of course, this doesn't make it right. But you know, Cito, in terms of context, we have to also consider the fact that right now, there is no clear monitoring of genuine transparency in terms of campaign contributions, and the fact that right now our candidates are also allowed to spend their own money. So in other words, they can afford to, for example, if you're a millionaire or a billionaire, you can even finance your own expenses. In other countries like the United States, you're not allowed to do that. And in fact, there should be a clear disclosure, not just after the elections, but even during the campaign for you to disclose where you are getting your funding. Here in the Philippines, the problem is you provide the statement of contributions and expenses after the elections, whether or not you won or lost in the post. So that's the legal requirement.
Yung bang reporting of expenses, binabasa ba talaga yon? Have you ever heard of the COMELEC charging, questioning, or fining a candidate whether they won or lost for violating election campaign expenses?
There had been a case of a governor being disqualified because of overspending, campaign overspending. But I can only recall of one case. For the most part, you are right, Cito, there's not much effort to really verify the documents, the information that's provided in the SOSE. I'll give you an anecdotal evidence. How can you check carefully in a situation where sometimes a particular candidate would send 4 truckloads of documents to support the campaign expenditures. So maybe that's very overwhelming for the understaffed and underpaid COMELEC employees. So this is a classic case of trying to, strengthen that particular aspect of COMELEC, trying to increase the budget of the Commission on Elections to ensure that they can carefully check. Not just, the problem here, Cito, is that there are 18,000 positions and of course, there are, tens of thousands of candidates. So what the COMELEC can do is to just simply choose randomly at the local level and perhaps at the presidential level. Since there are only 10 candidates, we can try to monitor all 10 presidential candidates and even the 9 vice presidential candidates. But at the local level, we can only do that randomly. But the bottom line is there has to be a system of monitoring and that this should be made transparent to the people.
Okay, now at least to the credit of Isko Moreno, and I will give credit where credit is due, he admitted, inamin niya kasi wala rin yata daw isang choice eh. Nilagay na dun sa screen yung kanyang mga dokumento na nagbayad siya sa BIR. But at least inamin niya, he admitted that yes, I kept 50 million and I paid 9 point something million on taxes. But how do Filipinos, paano malalaman ng mga Pilipino yung mga walang ya? Do you guys even keep track of this home ikananay people, these candidates who put up livelihood programs by running in an election only to pocket contributions?
It's a bit hard to monitor in the sense that there's no clear disclosure on the part of the candidates in doing that. And unfortunately for the COMELEC, there's
Hindi,
an
pero
attempt to disclose.
Prof Dan,
Yes.
wala ba kayong listahan ng mga running kuno? Or yung obvious naman na, this guy always runs in every election. And he only makes a lot of sound during the first 30 days of submission of candidacy, and then he essentially just disappears from the landscape. Kumbaga kasi sabi nila the first 60 days nung after COC, doon na raw ang koleksyon ng pera eh.
Yeah, our financial resources limit us from monitoring everything about the elections, especially at the local level. But sometimes we do observe that at the presidential, vice presidential, and senatorial levels, there are certain candidates who make it to the ballot but are actually not so serious about their candidacies. Right now, we have 64 senatorial candidates, but sometimes you begin to wonder why is it that there are certain nefarious characters on the ballot who have been involved in certain scandals, and we know that they're not really conducting any attempt toward name recall. So perhaps those are the primary candidates for this money making for considering the election.
You mentioned the word nefarious. Meron na ba kayong mga nakitang mga potential fronts of organized crime, lalo na dun sa mga party list o mga congressional?
Yes.
I'm serious because
yes.
I have heard reports from certain parties. Sabi, Kuyang, bantayan mo yung mga party list kasi yung iba dyan pinopondohan ng mga kriminal.
Yeah.
What do you know about that, Professor?
Yes, it's good that you mentioned the party list system because we will be releasing our study on the party list groups, 177 of them, if I understand, as soon as possible. There is a report of a certain party list group who is supposed to have an advocacy against illegal drugs, whose regional representative was arrested on a buy-bust operation, again involving illegal drugs. So that's the irony of it. Yeah, aray ko talaga. So that's the irony of it all. And of course, and through the years, we just need to put on record here in the 2019 party list race, at least half of the party list groups that run, the 134 or so party list groups, at least half of them were found to be either part of political families or are run by big businesses or would have dubious advocacies. So with the current,
also engage in political livelihood.
Yes, that's correct.
So campaign livelihood.
Yeah, that's the aspect of dubious advocacy that we're trying to articulate here.
Okay.
But yes, sorry, go ahead.
Well, no. I was just if you have a closing statement, Professor Arao.
Yeah, the 2022 party list race will be no different from what we've monitored so far because there has not been any substantial change in terms of ensuring that the marginalized and underrepresented will truly be in the party list system. So there is a case of a group of nurses that wanted to participate in the party list race but was disqualified because they did not prove allegedly that their members are actually nurses, even if they have the documentary evidence to do so. So I think the COMELEC has a lot of explaining to do regarding the mess that we're in right now, including the money-making aspect of the election system here.
Okay. Well, Professor Dan, thank you very much for your time this morning, and magaganda yung mga inputs mo. At least it confirms our worst fear or my worst fear that totoo naman talagang merong mga campaign, politicians and campaigns that are livelihood programs for the benefit of the candidate. Thank you very much, Professor Arao.
Yeah, maraming salamat po.
Okay, that's Professor Danilo Arao, convenor of Kontra Daya. Nadinig nyo na po, meron daw party list, yung kanilang number one nominee, yung party list anti-drug, pero yung number one nominee nahuli sa bypass. Meron pong mga tao dyan, after every election, will start driving new cars, new SUVs, we'll have new houses, etc. So please, ladies and gentlemen, kung alam nyong palagian ng tumatakbo, lagi namang hindi baga, masahol pa sa tsope eh. Ito ni no show. Did not participate. Okay, DP sa karera did not DNP did not participate. Okay. Anyway, we'll go for a quick break. And when we come back, let's now speak to the owner of Maldita, Mango Tree, and president of Restaurant Owners Association, Mr. Eric Teng, here on Agenda. Okay, welcome back to the program. I'm your host, Cito Beltran. Thank you for being subscribers of Cignal TV and viewers of One News PH and Watching Agenda on channels 8 and 250. And para po sa inyo na bumabiyahe or hindi maka-access dahil sa kinalalagyan ay walang signal dahil may mga condo, there are condominiums who don't allow it, you can get us. Kasi may mga kanya-kanya silang setup ng cables. You can view us on YouTube. Okay? Look for One News PH Agenda and also on Facebook, One News PH Agenda. So pero parang lumalabas na talagang sure ball yung YouTube. Anyway, just before we start, here's a funny comment from one of our viewers. I will run for an office so I can retire and travel. What an interesting retirement plan. It is legal, but is it moral? Nako, na naman po tayo. Yung moral na yan, talagang. Anyway, speaking of moral, let's bring in a gentleman who seems to who likes to tempt fate. He came up with a clothing line, which is very successful. I've seen it time and again, and very eye-catching kasi ang tawag dun sa clothing line niya, Maldita. And well, on a positive note, it means naughty. But on a derogatory note, it is medyo, I don't even know what term to use, but maldita nga, no? Apparently, it was coined from the women he loves because his mother, wife, daughter tend to be malditas. Ewan ko kung totoo ito. Let's bring in Eric Teng. Mr. Eric Teng, good morning, sir.
Good morning po. Good morning, Cito. Thank you for having me.
Eric, you like to tempt fate. You're referring to your mother and your wife and your daughter as malditas. Have you lost your mind?
To be honest, it was my wife who came up with the brand.
Oh,
But
okay.
I can only agree because she is the chief Maldita. That's in her business card. It says Chief Maldita.
Okay, now Eric, I look at you. You are very formal, very somber looking guy, very business-like. Pero how did you get into this business? Because first, most guys would like macho business. May Maldita clothing line. Pang chicks yan, man.
Uh, well, I wasn't always somber. At some
Okay.
point, I wasn't even sober, siguro. So we had fun. We just tried to make a living, and opportunities come, and we take advantage of it. We
Mhm.
actually started with a brand called the 99 peso store, and we sold everything for 99 pesos. And
Mhm.
one day, somebody just asked us if we can create a brand in that 99 peso store. So we thought we'd create a funny brand that we will sell only for 99 pesos inside that store. And we came up with that Maldita brand. But
Mhm.
then, one thing led to another, and we found out we can create more than just selling something for 99. And we created much higher quality apparel that women at that time were looking for.
Mhm.
Because there weren't a lot of women's clothing line for upwardly mobile urbanites. And that was the target market namin. So we seem to hit that market at the time. Of course, now business is very challenging because we have all these international brands already in our country. So we, like a lot of other local brands, are struggling to find our place in our new world.
Okay, now how did you put it together? Because I mean, a 99-cent store, all you have to do really is look for products that meet the requirement and put it on the shelves. But putting up a clothing line, and I think I know what I'm talking about because my wife has been in the export fashion industry when was in the export fashion industry and remains, as you know, very connected in crafts and the sewing. It's not easy from concept, fabric, technology, etc. How did you put it together? What was the journey like?
It was challenging, but my wife, Imelda, she's the natural merchandiser. She started her first store when she was still in college in Divisoria. So when you learn that trade from that part of society, which
Mhm.
very much you have to be very fast, very smart about everything. That's the best schooling you can get. And she got very well traveled after that, and she was the one who really liked that aspect. Obviously, she's the one who wears the dress, not me. So I don't find any interest actually in that part. But what interests me is always, as you said, the name, the concept seems to be interesting. That why not? And it seems to be an adventure. Seems to be something that uh, I can um, I can raise a family with, and I'm proud of what we achieved in Maldita. We're now on our 22nd year of existence.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
not been easy. It's much harder. And as you said, fashion, retail, that's very hard. In fact, when we first went into the restaurant business, people were warning us, restaurant is very hard. And I was telling them, we think retail is harder. And true enough, after we got ourselves in the restaurant business, retail is definitely a lot harder than the restaurant business.
Okay, so which came first? Ika nga, chicken and the egg. Was it 99-cent store, 99 peso store, Maldita? Well, Maldita came after 99 peso. But what was your first business? Your real first endeavor?
I sold plywood. I was a plywood distributor. I sold
Okay.
construction companies, contractors. So pretty much the construction aspect was always interesting to me. And in
Mhm.
fact, today I'm also a contractor, and I'm the one who builds our own store and restaurants, and I also build other people's restaurants. So I sort of try to do a lot of things that can help the first part of the business, or this part helping the other parts of the business. So it's kind of like we have a nice synergy going on right here now.
Okay, so you first sold plywood and you got into construction. You're now a contractor. Then you got into the 1 peso store. How did the 1 peso, 99 peso store? How did you get into that in the first place? Because did you copy those Japanese, Chinese models, or Was this a copy from the US, or how did you do it?
At the time, this was 1993. There weren't a lot of internet information, so we didn't know that there were similar concepts around the world. And but there was one time I was in the States early in the 80s, and I saw a 99-cent store,
Hmm.
and I thought, why not do a 99 peso store? So it was just connecting the two digits together instead of cents to pesos. And my wife liked the idea, and a mall in Divisoria opened up a space for us, and asked my wife if she'd like to take it. And it's a great location. And my wife said, "Hey, why don't we do the 99 peso store that we were talking about before?" So it was just, we didn't push for it. It just came. It just fell on our lap.
Mhm.
And then after that, it was just a matter of getting the right merchandise. You'd be surprised at the celebrities who went to that store. People who, are, A-list, very, very well-to-do, very rich people going to the 99 peso store to buy things because they find interest in just spending 99 pesos for a pair of jeans.
But yeah, but what's the attraction, Eric? Is it the price factor, or is it because you and your wife? What your wife's name is? Imelda? Did I get it?
Yeah.
Okay. Is it because you have used your taste and your knowledge in selecting products that end up in the 99 peso store, which attracts the A-listers?
What taste? I don't have any taste in clothes or what. It's my
Oh,
wife.
come on.
It's my
Don't
wife.
say that, Eric. Maldita. I mean, I'm a senior citizen, and Maldita is a recognized brand in my brain. So don't say you don't have taste.
Well, it's my wife actually. She has a good nose for
Mhm.
merchandise. We are not very textbook learned or school people when it comes to merchandising.
Mhm.
Pretty much, it's the school of walking around for my wife. So what do you call this? MBWA, management by walking around. That's what
Mhm.
she does. And she travels a lot. She goes meet her customers in the provinces, in other countries as well. And she supplied some of the department stores we have today. So pretty much she understood instinctively what can sell well. So we're very lucky with that skill set. That's not something we can buy. That's something that is innate in other people.
Okay, clearly you have a strong partnership with your wife in making these decisions, in running these businesses. What rules, or what is the business template that you follow? What do you follow in terms of deciding, okay, we're going to go into this business because?
We have a family. That was the common denominator. We started in 1993 with that concept, and my son just turned 2. We needed to make a living. And so that was always the primary driving force. No matter how many hours you spend in a day or a week, you go through that without question because we're raising a family. And when you're driven, when you have that ambition just for that day-to-day sustainability of your family survival, we tend to achieve a lot of things. The other thing is that we openly talk to each other. We don't fight to hurt each other at all. We argue a lot. We're best friends. But when it comes to business, it's always trying to filter out the best ideas. We lose our tempers every now and then, of course, but it's never something that's hurtful or to put anyone down. In the end, we always have the best ideas coming out.
Okay, now is there? I'm the majority and therefore I rule, or it's my money, or I'll be sitting behind the cashier. So butt out, buddy. Kasi may mga ganong situation among couples, di ba? Yung bang it's a thin line and someone has to give. What happens? Have you been blamed for these things in the past?
Oh yeah, oh yes, definitely. But we have certain skill sets that are complementary. When we were starting out the store, we needed systems and management systems, and I was the business management educated person, and my wife was the arts person. But she ended up running the business with an artistic flair, and I'm the more creative person actually in by nature. So I end up running business the way we run our marketing with a business background. So we complement each other. When we do systems, we do the paper trail systems, our accounting systems, management, legal, our HR, all these things. We had to write down all the manuals for us to follow. And that was what I did. But that's to support whatever my wife says to run the day-to-day cash business, which is sales, merchandising, purchasing, and everything that people see in the store.
Okay, you've done retail. You're doing you're doing retail. You're doing construction. You're doing fashion, and you're also doing restaurants. Now, what got you into the restaurant business?
It was by accident. My mother actually is from Thailand, and somebody from the Thai embassy called my office looking for another person who was my consultant at the time, and asking if she was interested to talk to or be interested to explore a restaurant. And that person, of course, was interested, but she handed the phone to me because we were seated beside each other. And they were talking about Thai restaurant, if I'd be interested. And I kept an open mind, and I went to a hotel to meet the person I was supposed to meet. It turned out to be the franchise director for Mango Tree. And I called my wife. I said, it's Mango Tree, which just happens to be my wife's favorite restaurant in Bangkok.
Oh, okay. Thank you for educating me, Eric, because I thought this was a local creation.
No.
Kasi alam mo naman, pag mango, I think manga. So
Yeah.
apparently, Mango Tree is a original Thai chain. Okay.
From Bangkok, there's Mango Tree in London, in Tokyo, in Hong Kong, Dubai, around the world. And we didn't have a restaurant background. So I went to meet this gentleman. And I like we hit it off right away, you know. So we like the concept, we like the idea, and I asked one question that was very important to me. I said, "How do you keep the Thai taste for the Philippines?" And apparently, that's what they like to hear, because the other people they spoke to was, "How can you change the concept to fit the Philippine market?" Because my mother is from Thailand, I wanted to maintain that authentic Thai. High taste, high level of quality for the Philippine market. So that got the ball rolling, and that started us into that restaurant business. Getting into it, as I said, we thought it was very hard. We thought it was going to be impossible, but we applied a lot of retail principles into it. That made it actually a lot easier. And in the end, it was a factory without inventory. You just have raw materials in the kitchen that when customers want it, you make it for them with a set recipe. And if I can do that for the last 10 years with the same consistency, that's different from fashion, where I give you a collection for one quarter and then I have to change all over again for the next quarter. How can we do that, successfully, sustainably over the last 22 years? So in restaurant, you're talking to the customer right away. They order what they want, you know what they want. They make any adjustments, you hear about it. You hear their compliments or their complaints, and we can never perfect it, naman. So we always constantly seek out the imperfections, and we try to improve. And when you can do a restaurant for a year, 2 years, 10 years, tendencies, you know what you're doing already, because you've heard a lot of the complaints, you've done a lot of the mistakes that needed to be done, and you improve. And the important thing is you never try to think for 1 second that you're good enough. You never try to think that you're perfect. It's always a work in progress. There's always room for improvement.
Okay, what is your secret to sustainability? Because my biggest frustration with my favorite restaurants in the past is they have great food, and then when supply chains are disrupted or there's inflation, they either reduce the serving or they replace the ingredients, or they jack up the prices to the point where this is no longer pleasurable for me. I'm out of here. How did Mango Tree sustain it?
Well, if we can, as you said, those are actually 3 of the tools that restaurants can use, but you have to do it subtly. You cannot suddenly half the portion or double the price. But if you can do that in a way that is not noticeable, but you're still maintaining your cost target, then you can be successful in maintaining that product in the menu. If that can't be possible, then we simply take it out of the menu, replace it with something else that can be sustainable. Because, for example, we practice a principle called low food miles, which is trying to get as close to the farm to table experience as possible. So we try to import the least amount of people as we can. Unfortunately, there are certain things that we have to import. So, for example, we don't use calamansi in our restaurant because in Thai restaurant we use lime, we use manao. And that's one of the key focus of us. We want to maintain authenticity from whatever ingredients they have in Thailand as close as possible. And if we can't have that, I don't want to substitute it with calamansi because the flavor is totally different.
But that's very true. Calamansi and lime. I think lime is has a sharper taste. Calamansi has a sweeter taste, if I'm not mistaken.
It's a different personality. It's a difference between orange and calamansi. So
Yeah, yeah.
different level of fragrance, different level of tartness.
Okay.
Citric acid is different.
Okay, so how many businesses do you guys have nowadays? I mean, did you have your fingers in? Because I can't catch up. You have so much in the list here.
What we found out early on with our retail side is that you can't do it alone. You need a good team. You need people who are like family to you, and you're never smarter. Every day you never go into room thinking you're the smartest person in that room. We always ask questions, and from our staff, from our managers, from our merchandisers, there's always a dialogue going on, and we want to learn as much as we can. We applied that also in the restaurants. I don't know, I can't cook, to be honest. So funny that I'm in the restaurant business, but then again, that's where I always work with chefs. I trust my team. I trust our good people to have the best interest of the customers. No, the secret of Mango Tree isn't me. It's our team. And not just the kitchen. It's the entire team who works very hard to make sure that your experience there every day will be a good one. Like I said, we cannot be perfect all the time. We've made a lot of mistakes, and it's just really normal for a restaurant to falter. But constantly, we just try to improve. And we have a team that's constantly open-minded to keep improving. That's one of the blessings we have in the Philippines. We have very good people, and who have that malasakit for the company they work in.
Okay, now when I go through what you presented, okay, 99 peso store, it's the price. It's the price point that will get me to look into the store if I'm a first timer. Maldita is such a catchy brand, catchy name that you can't forget it. And then, of course, Mango Tree, as you pointed out and educated me this morning, it's a global brand. It's got reputation in front of it. But what gets people to go back to your stores? Are you now still very busy in marketing, online promotion, etc., or is it really the image of every product or every company?
It's all of what you said, and more. I also have to understand that I am of a certain age, and I'm in my late 50s. So I cannot presume to know what a young person would want. And therefore, I have to ask my daughter, my son, younger people in our company, what interests them. So that goes with restaurants. You have to constantly know that that product is not yet perfect. And in time, that product becomes old and no longer relevant. So we need to constantly look at how to make it more relevant to the consumer, so to our target customer or even non-customers to try it for the first time. So we're happy to always entertain new customers coming in who's never tried Mango Tree before, and they tend to order what they know, which is the usual pad thai, tom yum. Mm-hmm. But we ask them, when you come to Mango Tree, don't order what you know. Order the things that are really strange, because Thai cuisine is so diverse. It's so interesting. It's so adventurous. That's sayang if you just apply what you know. So it's always something, you come in with a sense of adventure and try something different. And that trying something different, that sense of adventurism, that's what keeps our business interesting for me all the time. There's always something new to do every day. Mm-hmm. We have another brand called Genki Sushi. That's something, I'm not Japanese. I don't have a Japanese blood in my body, but we like sushi. But how do you maintain the standards of sushi for Genki Sushi. That's because a lot of our products are actually from Japan because it's part of the system. It's surprising that there are a lot of seafoods in the Philippines, but we can't use that because rules is we have to use their seafood.
Mm, okay, so you're bound by those franchise rules, so to speak.
But we learn a lot about Japanese sense of quality. The only thing we buy locally for that brand is mango, chicken, vegetables. Yeah. But the rest, pretty much the seafood, it's all from Japan.
So what keeps it all together? I mean, just keeping a marriage stable is already a challenge for a lot of people. Being business partners and creative associates with your spouse is already a challenge, and then bring in the family. But when you have so many businesses, I'm sure there must be days where a lesser person would have said, I give up, I can't handle this, let someone else. What keeps you, your wife, Imelda, your family, and your team together?
I wouldn't use the word challenge. To me, it's a pleasure, it's a privilege, it's an honor to be working with my family, with my wife, and with the team we have. I've never been in a situation where I wish I didn't do what we're doing today. Because if ever I come to that point, maybe I should stop doing it. I do find a lot of pleasure and fulfillment doing what we do, and doing it with the people that we do it with, and doing for the customers of the Philippines, and doing it with the franchisor partners that we have from Thailand and Japan. And so when you love what you do, and we found out that we love what we're doing here, it's not a challenge at all. It's we look forward to every day. We look forward even working on Sundays. We look forward to going to restaurants and trying something new. When we travel to Thailand or Japan, we always try something new. Who doesn't want to try new foods to eat? But we now have an excuse. We're actually doing it as part of our business. So it's not a challenge to eat. So it's not a challenge to work.
Okay, well, you put it so well, my friend, and thank you for joining us this morning. I will surely, I'll actually come to think of it, I've been to your restaurant. I'm just so forgetful that, I just assume, I like Thai food, but I have been to your restaurant, and I remember I really like the food. But thank you for joining us this morning, and please stay safe, stay healthy, and God bless you, Eric.
Thank you very much, Cito. Thank you for having me.
Okay, that's Mr. Eric Teng, owner of Maldita, operator, I don't know, franchise owner of a mango tree in the Philippines. And that was a very interesting interview. We hope you are picking up lessons from all of these business people that we get to interview. And if you have any suggestions, please send us email or a message on Facebook here on One News PH. And let's now go to our blessing for the week. It is from the book of Job, chapter 11, verses 15 to 18. Then, free of fault, you will lift up your face, you will stand firm and without fear. You will surely forget your trouble, recalling it only as waters gone by. Life will be brighter than noonday, and darkness will become like morning. You will be secure because there is hope. You will look about you and take your rest in safety. And I pray that you will all be happy this day. God bless all of you. Thank you for watching us here on Agenda. And please keep it here on One News PH.